BioNTech. These are the guys that brought you the Pfizer vaccine. I don't have much going on in this model, but let's see if we can update it. All right, so let's see. So this is BioNTech. This company became very big and very successful with their COVID vaccine. So they acquired this company, InstaDeep. I never heard of these guys. They're kind of interested in this AI software type of thing for pharma. $360 million, not bad. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz to visit BioNTech. Hope he had a good visit, Mr. Scholz. Malaria vaccine, oh cool. That wouldn't be a big commercial winner, but be a medium one for sure, and it'd be a huge win for all global health. Prophylactic herpes vaccine, that'd be great. That'd be a really big product. I didn't know they had a herpes vaccine. HSV2. Herpes is a major healthcare problem. All right, so there's the Q3 results. I think I have these. I just labeled them wrong. Total revenue is 3.4 billion. That looks right. Okay, so I just labeled these the wrong year. All right, that's better. So revenue is dropping pretty drastically and quickly for BioNTech due to the COVID vaccine revenue kind of plummeting. COVID seems to have run its course. They still made $2 billion last quarter, so. They have $13 billion in, I guess, euros in cash. Oof. Unbelievable. $7 billion in accounts receivable. I don't know, maybe these governments should ask for their money back. I'm just kidding. I actually am a fan of the vaccine, but I do think it is a little bit funny to see that they're still owed $7 billion. I wonder if some of their customers, some of these smaller countries may say, yeah, well, you know, I'm not paying. How about that? Oh, there's plenty of shorts out there. Don't worry about that. We'll get some shorts. Don't worry. The Shkreli short train is coming soon to a stop near you. We'll print you some money. I gave you guys Liquidia, LQDA. I don't hear any thank yous. I got some thank yous in the emails and the DMs, but I don't hear any thank yous. That was my first and only stock pick since leaving prison. NTLA is my second one. So if you haven't looked at NTLA, maybe take a look. For expenses, other right of use assets, so stupid. PP&E and intangibles. Other financials. Okay, there we go. It's amazing. BioNTech has a total plant base of 500 million, and they made 2 billion last quarter selling this COVID vaccine. What a business. I know some of you are skeptical about the COVID vaccine, so that might make you guys mad, but that's the nature of the business. Vaccines are very tough. You know, they're very tricky products in general. They're not quite the same evidence that we get with other medicine. I think that's kind of like a bit of a misunderstanding. A write-off? Well, it's funny, you know, write-offs come in different ways. There's charge-offs that exist with GAAP, and usually we eliminate them in non-GAAP. But then there's other kinds of write-offs. This is like advanced finance, but like you could argue most of what Amazon does in their business is a write-off. Not a write-off like a tax write-off, but mainly, basically a charge against the real operating profits. It's a little bit complicated to go through, but Gödel is this fancy stock market app you see in my background here. We're also making a lot of cool new features like our own Excel plugin if you want to still use Excel, but hopefully replace Excel for financial uses. It's getting a little tired. Microsoft doesn't love us. There is a free version, of course, yeah. Yeah, Excel's difficult to replace, but you'd be surprised at how many companies have replaced it internally with their own systems due to its limitations. Oh, this is for Indian stocks? Futuristic stock screener, really? Let's see. These are all Indian stocks. PE ratio, really? That's it? That's the futuristic? You should take a look at this company called Bloomberg. They got something a little bit better than this. A little bit better. And then there's another one called FinViz, which is pretty good too for screening. But yeah, this is not a very sophisticated. This is very limited. No, I mean, Bloomberg works on Indian stocks. It's just $2,500 a month. That's a lot of rupees. Indian stocks are no, just because the one Adani guy might be a scammer, and I don't even know what the story is, by the way. Doesn't mean that all Indian stocks are bad or something. That'd be like saying all American stocks are bad because of Sam Bankman or something, or WorldCom. I like India. How many shares outstanding do these guys have? That's all I really want to know. Does BioNTech make normal SEC filings? I don't think so. They have 6Ks. The report of a foreign issuer. Okay, this is a news release. This is their annual report. So what's going to happen to the COVID vaccine revenue? It's basically going to go to zero, if in my opinion. But if you look at what Pfizer said on their conference call, they actually are saying that it's going to go down this year, but up next year. Can you believe that? So 2024 and 2025, COVID vaccine revenue is going to go up. That doesn't seem possible to me, unless they know something we don't know. More COVID coming? Yeah, it seems cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I think you should be able to look up the shares outstanding of any company at any time without having to look through company filings. I think there should just be companies mandated to put a running count of all shares outstanding. Ryvu is on the Warsaw Stock Exchange. That is so cool. These are the Polish zloty. How much is zloty to a dollar? Do you guys know? This company's worth $1 billion zloty. It's 0.22, so it's 5 zloty to a dollar. So this is a 200 million market cap. Pretty impressive, huh? A lot of interesting things happening here. Probably more interesting than Moderna, which I was saying a lot because Moderna's got some interesting things too. But the herpes vaccine is kind of interesting to me. The COVID stuff, I just don't understand. I don't think mRNA will be useful for cancer vaccines. But you can see there's a bunch of interesting... I mean, these are kind of memey ribomabs. These are RNA-encoded antibodies. Well, I'm not sure that's, you can always just give antibody, right? Ribo-encoded cytokines or mRNA-encoded cytokines. So some of these are pretty unique therapeutic modalities, but they're also TLR7 has been used many times and cancer has just not worked over and over and over again. It's just not worked. There's this new bivalent vaccine I guess they're selling, but Pfizer's really bullish on their ability to continue to sell COVID vaccine, which to me is, a little surprising given COVID's kind of disappearing. So again, I'm just looking for one or two numbers here. Oh, okay. But if you're just tuning in, we're hanging out, talking about some hedge funds, talking about stocks. The one stock I really like is NTLA, Intilia. It's kind of like a mid-cap biotech stock. They're doing CRISPR, probably the only company doing CRISPR the right way, I would think. But okay, I don't think I'm going to get the right number from this. Some European companies don't update their shares outstanding every quarter. As long as they don't do an offering, then you know what their shares outstanding are. But there's other ways to get it or back into it, but I'm just going to leave it there. And I'm just going to update this real quick. So it looks like they have 13 billion in cash. That's in euros. And on debt side, 967. What's the latest BioNTech stock price? I don't even follow them on here, I don't think. Just pop it down here. $131. It's kind of been a bit of a dog. As it probably should be, given COVID's kind of dissipating. if you believe Pfizer's forecast, then it's a long. But I think anybody with half a brain would say that it's very unlikely COVID's just going to continue and continue and continue. So let's maybe look at some options for maybe what could happen in a couple different scenarios. Is there like the most bullish for these companies is like COVID becomes like a permanent feature of reality? I think that's probably unlikely. Geez, I really hope so. All right, so we should probably look at their Q1 results and then maybe 2020 as well. I feel like Bob Ross right now, like happy little quarters. All right, let's see, BioNTech. I thought it was really interesting, the acquisition they did of some like AI pharma company. I think AI and pharma don't really mix. Not that you can use AI for any data, right? Anything where you need to request data, you can use AI, and I certainly do myself. But it's a buzzword when it's applied that broadly. What specifically is quote unquote AI powered? That's the question. And I think using technology in pharmaceuticals is not something new. So their guidance for the full year was 13 to 17 billion. That's for 2022. And we know what Pfizer reported in Q4, right? So let's go to commercial revenue. I really don't think they're going to be able to deploy the capital that they've generated effectively. And it seems like they're biting off way too much. Their R&D should be no different than it was prior to COVID. But my guess is that they're probably furiously expanding their deployment of capital in the hopes of kind of generating a hit. Although, let's see, we'll have to look at the R&D line. Maybe they're more disciplined than I think. But it's going to be very hard to keep up with that kind of return. I mean, that was maybe the most profitable project in the history of corporate projects. The COVID vaccine project is really rather incredible. And the fact that it's still that profitable even after giving half of it to Pfizer is really incredible. You can see they're paying full taxes now, which in Germany, you could get a tax break, 27% tax rate, not too bad. I wonder if how they manage that, because they kind of get a check from Pfizer, don't they? Interesting. All right, so it looks like that's when revenue peaked, although we still need to grab that Q4 number. Q1. So you can see revenue has dropped, started dropping in Q2, but will it just disappear? Pfizer's guiding to COVID staying around forever. And while we were laughing about it earlier, I don't know that we should completely ignore it. Look at the sales and marketing line. I mean, if this isn't a meme, I don't know what is. BioNTech sales and marketing, 13 million. Revenue, 3.5 billion. Most companies have to sell and market their products. We don't. It is ironic, right, that the Democrats and media are maybe the outsourced marketing department for BioNTech and for Pfizer. Pfizer markets quite a bit for the product, so I'm being very unfair because that's what Pfizer's responsibility is. It's not BioNTech's responsibility, but it's still kind of funny. All right. I think I'm the only one laughing too. But anyway, here's they've been paying taxes for a minute actually, which is interesting. Okay, a minute being the very defined period of time. All right, so let's get Q4 number, and then we can start doing some thinking about, well, what is the longevity of COVID? What is the curve going to be? I hate that term, flattening the curve, right? What's the curve for the future revenue going to be? Amazing, right? Commercial revenue, 24 million in 2019, 300 million in 2020. That makes sense. The vaccine wasn't ready until 2021 where it sold 19 billion. Whew. That's just half, right? That's just their half. All right, so their peak quarter was Q1 22. And really their first quarter was, it looks like Q4 20. It's when the vaccine, I remember when the vaccine results came out. I was so shocked that an mRNA vaccine could deliver the antigenicity that it did, but happy it worked. Happy for humanity. I wish more people would have taken it, to be honest, but that's just me. And disappointed, but not surprised that, you had some strain drift. Money printer went brrr. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they transition to commercial payers. Governments will say, well, we don't pay for flu vaccines, so why are we paying for this? Although my guess is with Biden, there's no bill that, I don't think he's met a bill yet that he doesn't want to pay for with the government money. Wonder why that is.
I heard there's a bill that hasn't been paid yet. Where is it? Hurry up, let me sign it.
I heard there's a bill that hasn't been paid yet. Where is it? Hurry up, let me sign it.
That's the nature of a lot of Democrats, unfortunately, in my opinion. That's what keeps the Democratic Party from being a good party. Otherwise, I might vote Democrat if it wasn't for that. Okay, so we are done with this part of the model, thankfully. So we only have really 1 year of real results, and then we have this partial year. And I think for this partial year, they said, was it 13 to 17 billion in commercial revenue? I think that was their guidance, right? Not that their guidance matters so much, but. And then I think we have Pfizer's guidance as well, right? So we're trying to get a DCF going for BioNTech, which basically is completely dependent on Comirnaty. The management team of BioNTech would not like to hear me say that, but that's what I think. Okay, so they said 16 to 17. It was 13 to 17, but now it's 16 to 17. So let's see, 16 to 17 billion euro Q3 22 guidance. Okay, so now I don't know what this came out. Let's look at Comirnaty for Pfizer. So you can see for Pfizer, it did 38 billion. So BioNTech will probably have a really good Q4. I'm not sure. Well, we can see how well it's tracked, actually. Comirnaty. Pfizer, we could do an R-squared. Let's see. So let's see what the R-squared is. Equals core-L. Function you'll never need to use in Excel. All right, this is a 93.93 correlation coefficient. So you can actually take the imputed value right off the bat. You can see, let's see, percentage of Comirnaty. I think there's a sell-in delay effect or something. Let's see. Okay, so they get, on average, 50% of Comirnaty. So maybe 40-something%, I think. 54%, okay. So I'll just leave that there. Because the biggest question is really what will happen to 2023. I don't think it matters that much, kind of what happens in Q4. I just need a number to do over here. And so now we need kind of a curve. Let me take a look at what I did for Pfizer. So for Pfizer, I have it dropping 50% for 2024, stabilizing for a year, and then dropping off a cliff again. So that's what it looks like. So if you look at that, and you just take the NPV of that alone, without regards to cost, although we can pop in cost really quickly, right? Because we know what their average gross margin has been. It's been, so Comirnaty gross margin was, I don't know, let's see, 83%. Looks like it descaled a little bit into the high 70s. Let me put it at 80%. My jam is equities, fundamental equities. All right, so this is, they have very little costs. So I'm just gonna put 300 million in cost here until Now remember, they are paying taxes, as I pointed out earlier. And that was around 25% tax rate. We should all be so lucky, right? All right, so if you just take the NPV of this, it's gonna be pretty low discount rate. That's 12 billion. So they have 19 billion in enterprise value. So basically the market thinks that either the pipeline will have some value that's worth a mix of that 12 billion here plus say 7 billion in the pipeline. Maybe it's their influenza vaccine, maybe it's their cancer vaccines, whatever it is. 7 billion is not a small amount for a biotech company to have unaccounted value for. The other option is people think that, or the market thinks, I say people, I just use that shorthand sometimes. The market thinks Pfizer's a little bit more right than I do, and that we're going to have a slower decline of COVID, at least for COVID revenue, than we think, that companies or countries may stockpile. For example, stockpile COVID vaccines, in which case now you're talking about, I just changed it from a 50% decline to a 40% decline, in which case now you're talking about 15 billion. So there's only 4 billion in unaccounted value. I'm looking at the enterprise value. If I drop that even a little bit more, you're talking about the company potentially being along. If COVID's downward spiral happens less slowly, then it's possible the company is actually a long and not a short, or that one of these pipeline products is really valuable, which we may give them the benefit of the doubt for. So there's only a 30% decline in COVID. The stock would be actually a long. So I'm assuming that there's kind of like this very rapid decline and COVID goes away. Part of that might be my own mental, how should I put it, like my own psychological kind of bias at play, where I'd like to see that happen, right? I think we'd all like to see COVID go away as rapidly as possible. So that may not be the case. I don't know if Pfizer's right and COVID's going to come back with a vengeance or not. I really don't know. But I think, obviously, your NPV of the company's assets plus the company's cash, right, should be greater than either the market cap or the enterprise value, depending on how you count it. So I can just add the cash and I'll get kind of like an expected market value, which will give me an expected stock price. And you can see from my calculations, the expected stock price would be 138, which is about 131, which is the current price. But that's a contrived finding. My unaffected estimate was that COVID revenue will drop 50%, and then we'll stay with only a 10% drop, and then again drop 50% until it just sort of disappears. In that case, BioNTech is not a long, but a short. But I'm also assuming that there's no value at all in their pipeline, and that they're going to burn capital with their pipeline. In fact, that would make it even more of a short if I'm right about that. I kind of take no position. I just say the pipeline isn't valuable at all. I'm not including it as a detriment, or I'm not including it as an asset either. And if I'm wrong, even a little bit, and they come up with another vaccine, like say for herpes, that looked really interesting. If there's a herpes vaccine that works, BioNTech would go up quite a lot. So that's just sort of the way I would look at BioNTech. It's a very complex situation given. It's funny how it becomes more complex the more simple it is in a way, because they only have one product, but depending on how that product goes, we could see an array of outcomes. It's kind of less the case in more diversified companies where it's kind of this like aggregate expectation. And in this case, the market sort of has it balanced, I think, relatively correctly. They do have to declare every drug in their pipeline. It's not, there's not one specific law I can point to or something like that, but it's generally kind of what's done. It's a good question.